trust me, this panel is all about future. What do you think? How do you think that we can engage, go, and why Bangladesh? Why from Netherlands? That is the thing that we are to spark. CBI in Bangladesh started their journey in 1971, same year. And then we kept on going. CBI supports import from developing countries. So there have been a lot of hand-holding in Bangladesh. Judith understands, and the crafts which you find, high-end crafts, are actually coming through CBI collaboration. PDS, you heard Palak Seth, so Rajiv will connect in a different way. TNO, sometimes I tell my colleagues on a lighter note, a bit slightly confusing. They are with very high-tech things, innovation, but we had a fascinating, fiery conversation, 2 hours in TNO, on a lot of things, including cool bricks, and you'll be surprised the way they did. I'll not say now, but you'll hear from them. Used, if I pronounce your name right. Again, fantastic. Invest International is, I think, 1 year old now?
3 years.
3 years old, sorry. Used was in Bangladesh in 1997, but now he heads Invest International, which has one of the first project in Bangladesh with Dhaka City Mayor Atikul Islam. We'll hear from you why, and we'll come to you on the manufacturing side. So may I first go to, I'll start with Andre. Andre, you were in Bangladesh in February. You went for 3-4 days. You moved from different parts, went to Bangladesh village, and how do you see, or would you see, Vice Minister told our 2 ministers that there are 3 sectors they want to bring in within Bangladesh. One is agriculture/agro-food, horticulture to be more precise, and eventually to water circularity, and to one other sector, which I forgot, frankly. So how would you look at Bangladeshi manufacturing now that you were in the ground, and now that you hear the vision and aspiration? And how do you think that mutuality of interest can connect us both?
Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. Welcome all the guests here. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, you are right. I was in Bangladesh at the beginning of this year. And as you know, RVO has conducted several market studies in order to find where are the business opportunities for Dutch companies. And with the results of that in mind, and the studies which were focused on animal production, plant production, and some other cross-cutting issues, I experienced that the areas of agriculture practices and circular economy and the water sector are the most potential areas for cooperation between Dutch companies and Bangladeshi companies. And most of all, those are also the focus of the Netherlands Embassy in Dhaka and of RVO. And moreover, the water management and sustainable agriculture practice are central to the transitional relationship between our 2 countries, which was also mentioned by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. And the relationship is transforming from a relationship towards a relationship more focused on trade and investment. And in the policy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Development Cooperation, Bangladesh is also qualified as one of the COMBI countries. And in this COMBI approach, the Netherlands combining trade and development of trade activities with development activities in order to have an impact on sustainable development in Bangladesh through private sector engagement. And so, in order to bring Dutch companies and Bangladeshi partners together, we have conducted studies. We have organized impact clusters. And impact cluster is a way in which Dutch companies and their Bangladeshi counterparts are working to strengthen a specific sector in Bangladesh. And we also have established some center of excellences. And actually, your question was also what would be my suggestion to the Dutch companies. And my suggestion to the Dutch companies would be stay open and curious about the opportunities in Bangladesh. Also, I would like to refer to some of the words which were spoken this morning about the several honorable speakers. And make use of the instruments which are available, not only at the RVO, but also at the embassy and also at Invest International. And in that regard, I would also like to refer to the webpage of the country page of Bangladesh at RVO. There you'll find the do and don'ts with regard to doing business in Bangladesh. And when I was there in March this year, what I found most important is that you have to invest in personal relationship. Personal relationship with your counterpart in Bangladesh is the key for the key for success. And I would strongly advise to invest in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. Judith. Yeah, that's right. So far, in the past 1 decade, as much as my notes tell me, CBI has been engaged in Bangladesh in leather, apparel manufacturing, and now with home textile and home decor.
Home decoration, home textile,
Right.
yeah.
And some of the generic questions we receive from many of the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, how would they or can they come and engage with Netherlands also for business, but because Netherlands is a distribution hub globally, if not simply in Europe. So two things. One would be, what would be your suggestion for the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs or those in business to come and engage more? As also, how would you see from CBI that how our entrepreneurs who are trying to come to meet the competitiveness as also quality, as also create the new niche to come to Europe?
To Europe, yeah. Well, thank you. Also from my behalf, very nice to be here. As you mentioned, CBI and Bangladesh, we have the same age. We started all at 1971, and we have quite some history together. At the moment, just for your information, we have running a program on the home decoration, home textile. There is part of the expedition, you can see the products which people are able to make. And in this program, we work with the Dhaka University on design and also the Export Promotion Board in Bangladesh. And it's good to mention we have, for instance, a BD project where we really created solid jobs for more than 650 people, women especially, in the rural areas. And I do mention it because if you ask us from CBI on our experience, what suggestions should you take? Well, what we see is, well, you have a lot of people in your country. So it makes so much sense to invest in low labor-intensive industries. And we see clearly a potential for the apparel market, already discussed, it's organized also here. But also the home decoration, home textile sector, the agribusiness sector, agri-food sector, and IT. The IT sector is always very interesting also for the youngsters, for the young people. And the home decoration sector, you can also see that you can work with producers groups. So it's also not only for the cities, but also interesting for the more rural areas where a lot of people live as well. We have the suggestion that if you make the new steps, you have to move up to the value in the chain. That is so you can do it in several ways, organically, circular, but also to focus on product design. For instance, you have a big jute. How do you say it in English?
Jute.
Jute.
You call it jute.
Jute.
And I call it fiber of future.
Okay, well, fiber.
Of future.
Okay. Well, we know we talk about the jute industry. And what is in fact a little weird is that a lot of products are sent to India and Vietnam to be redesigned, to make the real design, because they have the design centers, and then it's shipped to Europe. So our suggestion would be not only for the companies, but also for the sector, invest also in the design part, because there you can add value to the chain. In that sense, we do work with the BSO, the Business Support Office, on the youth diversification, but still we think you can invest on that. Secondly, and it makes so much sense, but you have to comply to the European standards. And they're getting, it's not only the standards, it's also the market standards. It's not only the regulation from the government, but also what the market is asking. And that's for sure, and I understand there's a lot of effort right now also during this event, how important sustainability is becoming. So the Green Deal and the Farm to Fork, they're moving up, and they're asking more and more from the suppliers to work on. And in that sense, I urge always companies to look at our platform from CBI. We have a unique platform on market intelligence where you can see the trends, the requirements, also the EU requirements, how to do business in Europe. And here you can also find buyers, so that always makes sense to at least have a look at this platform. The third thing, and then I stop because I know you're running in time, but it's working on the image. And I think this event is such a good example. Because we have seen the development in Bangladesh also from CBI, but the world hasn't always seen that. So you can't be loud enough and you can't be clear enough on the change you've been making. And I think it's worth it. So I understand next year you have the same event, if I'm right. So I hope also, yeah. So I hope we can even measure the image, because that is important.
Okay. I'll pick up one element from Judith's point, and may I recognize Minister for Commerce here, because, sir, market intelligence is a very key thing, because we can do the foundational things with Invest, TNO, RVO, but sometimes the last mile, market intelligence insights, perspectives really make it happen from both sides, because we have two entrepreneurs interestingly sitting on the end of this panel. That's interesting, it's by coincidence. So that's what I'd submit. Matilde, I'm actually not coming in a certain way. You'll be next. Sir, we have a very fantastic conversation with her. And Matilde, please tell us first what are you doing with Square Pharmaceutical in Bangladesh? Because that is the first thing. We also spoke about cool bricks. And just quickly tell us about 3-4 minutes, what are the 8 or 9 things, because that will connect to Just as also RVO, if not CBI. Please tell us without further ado.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to do so. I'm Mathilde from TNO, an innovation institute with 4,000 people working on a broad range of areas. With Square in Bangladesh, we developed biodegradable sanitary napkins. And the idea was...
Is it already in the market?
Yes, it was launched in April.
And what's the name of that?
It's Biofemina.
What is the name of it? There's a name.
Biofemina.
Okay. So this is a striking thing which is already marketed. So, yeah.
It took a while, but now it's on the market. And the idea was to make the back sheet and the packaging of biodegradable plastic. The absorbent material was already biodegradable, but the idea was now to replace the plastics. And together with a Dutch company in the Netherlands, Rodeburg Biopolymers, we developed a resin that really suits the design criteria of the napkins, that it's 8 hours fully water resistant, and it degrades after that, especially when it's buried in the soil. We produced the resin, we blew some films, we sent it to Square. We did some trials, and they were very enthusiastic because it was much more comfortable for the end users and very good material characteristics. Then we sent the resin made in the Netherlands to Premiaflex, and they blew the biodegradable films locally. And Square assembled in the biodegradable napkins, and now the biodegradable sanitary napkin is there.
The point is, these are cost-effective, affordable by poor particular apparel workers. So that's the point. So it cannot be a niche product. It is a niche one, but it is cost-effective. Yeah. Not only simply hashtag sustainability, but circularity, but also cost-effective.
And there are much more opportunities for biodegradable plastics. Now it's for sanitary napkins, but you can use it for supplies in agri-food, for pots, to have it in kitchenware, to have it in all kind of packaging. So I think we started with this one. We made the resin out from potato starch. So you can use agricultural residues to make new products and to valorize waste. And there are multiple other topics you can use for the plastics, but also for the biomass.
Matilda, can you tell 3 or 4 of the things that we spoke about? Cool bricks.
Yeah. Cool bricks, they are really cool. You don't have to heat them because we work on the replacement of cement. Cement is scarce, expensive, and most expensive part for bricks and blocks in housing, but also for mortar. And for instance, with rice husks, we can make an activated material that make bricks strong without heating them. And in that sense, it lowers the cost, it lowers the energy use, it lowers the environmental load. And we are working on that in Malawi at the moment, especially for the bricks and the blocks and the mortar. And I think it can be a tremendous opportunity for Bangladesh as well to introduce them over there.
Okay. So there are 2 things for everyone in the audience. Any problem in Bangladesh, TNO has challenged me that any challenge can be turned into opportunity. Even when I look at Mr. Siddiqur Rahman coming from southern Bangladesh, Borishal area, you're struggling with salinity at every level. They can do either have solutions, they can tap with many of the distinguished panelists, but if not, the solutions can be developed and adapted to Bangladeshi context. I hope I'm right on that score. So
yes.
I'm looking at not only you, but also Invest, TNO, our view together. It's simply not manufacturing, it's an urbanization, it's an agriculture. Many of the things we think that these are not usable, doable, or not business worthy, they have solutions. So please grab them afterwards. Don't let them go. I'll come back to you. Because I'm bringing you used at the end, there is a reason. Mr. Sohail Sadat, tell me 3 things, because you have been in apparel manufacturing for quite some time. What would be your vision, expectation, individually as also collectively? Just tell us.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests and honorable speakers. Good afternoon. It's a good platform. Sometimes I feel like that I should talk as an individual, like as an entrepreneur. Bangladesh is a nice country. We have a lot of resources. And beside this,
Sir,
I think we need
let's
to
come
have a
straight
collaboration.
to 3 or 4 things.
3 and 4 things, yeah. If I go the collaboration straight to the point, collaboration between institutions, public and private, for research and development, then design and product development, industry, big data management, supply chain management, quality control, human resource department, and most importantly, studying the culture. The culture is very important to connect. So that will take us to the next level. That's what we can tap. Whatever we are doing currently is fine, but I think we have ample of opportunity is unleashed. We can go and explore if we understand the culture. That's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He has said something very interesting, which is data applications. Netherlands is a country, there's a place, I think when I go to Utrecht, also to Wageningen partly, but maybe other places, it's all about how creatively we mine data and also then interface with you. So I think you can connect with not only individuals here, but also others. Because anything and everything, much of data you yourself are generating, not as the industry. But there's very little understanding how data can be turned into a real asset, much more than something goods that you're producing. But that's something I see often ground zero. I'll come to you later, but now Invest as a 3-year-old institution as Invest International, which is a financing entity, very interesting. I think last March or this March, you secured your first project in Bangladesh with the Dhaka City Mayor, Atikul Islam. If you please tell us that, how did you do? Why did you go to Bangladesh? And what is the possibilities that you see in Bangladesh in terms of many other projects? Because there are a lot of takers here, and also the ministers are sitting there.
Yeah, thank you. Ministers, honorable ministers, audience, nice meeting you. Invest International is a new, like you said, a new state-owned enterprise. We have about 3 billion under management, both on balance and off balance. And we are there to finance Dutch businesses overseas if the banks find it difficult to finance them. But then still needs to be a good business case, right? And I think what you talked about earlier is that we are moving from aid to trade. And I think our institution has been set up to facilitate that process because there are many. What you see now is that the big commercial banks are withdrawing quite strongly from financing SMEs, especially in risky markets like Bangladesh, right? Anything below 15 million export finance, they probably will not do it, although there may be a good business case. So that's where we step in. So we try to finance those Dutch businesses that have a good business case, but where the banks find it difficult to do so. And it's typically in innovative solutions, like you talked about in circularity or in water or in agriculture, where you see most of those Dutch businesses bringing a solution, or what you talked about, and we can finance that. So we work with money from development aid, where we finance Dutch businesses, which is really risky, high impactful, but we don't know whether we get the money back, up to 3 million, something like that. And then from 3 million onwards to about 80 million out of our core capital, where we want our money back in terms of loans, can be export finance, can be investment loans. And there are many opportunities in Bangladesh, I think.
How was your first project with Dhaka City Canal Restoration?
Yeah, so we also work on public finance. So out of development aid, we are allowed to finance public infrastructure projects up to about 50 million euros. And we have been looking for projects in Bangladesh. There have been projects in the past in Khulna around flood protection, and now in Bangladesh, in Dhaka. We're talking with the authorities there to see if we can help them on the water control systems over there. Yeah. It's a bit early stage yet, but it looks promising that we can work with.
Can you explain what you mean by leveraging financing from Invest? What does it mean? Because there are many who might think of you.
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on what kind of projects we're talking about. So if it's about our public infrastructure grants, then 2/3 to half needs to be financed by other financiers, right? Other donors or the World Bank or whatever you, or the government of Bangladesh. I think the government of Bangladesh nowadays has the means to do that itself, right? So we're trying to find our ways through the talking to the Minister of Finance, finding the right ways to do that, because we cannot finance everything logically, right? The country needs to take skin in the game itself. For the other companies, for the private finance, we can finance 100%, but we can also do, if it's equity, we don't want to be the only equity player in that company for obvious reasons. So it depends a bit. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Because it's very interesting, Matilde, I think also our view, because many of the things that we'd like to do, ground testing particularly, we can't so often miss the last miles. I look at Invest, frankly, as much as I understand, to chip in. And for many of the entrepreneurs who have fantastic, stimulated ideas, which may not get, might look at Invest. So I come, and gentlemen, please get with your questions. We might have very little time to pick up some of the questions. And then we'll hear, so that we hear your voices as well. Last but not the least is Mr. Rajiv. You have been in Bangladesh for quite some time. The mic. Yeah, quite some time, and you heard the perspectives from this side, some of the movers in Netherlands in terms of public, as also sitting in the interface of public and private. So being engaged in Bangladesh for quite some time and listening to the perspectives, particularly in this panel, and if I ask you next 5 to 10 years, how would you articulate your presence, footprint in Bangladesh?
So first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity for being here. I would share a bit of my personal history. I come from a state called Bihar, which is one of the most
I think most of us are familiar, no problem.
State in India, and we have border with Bangladesh with a small strip. And while I was in the eight years old, we were selling the flag of Bangladesh while 1977-71 liberation was going. I had the opportunity for the first time to be in 90s in Bangladesh. And that point of time, there was hardly any infrastructure. And today, when I see the bridge on the Padma River, I think we have come very, very far.
I think, sir, in the interest of time, if I request you for your reflections. Please.
Yes. Coming to the perspective of it today, we are buying about Techno Design itself, which is part of the PDS group, buying about $100 million worth of goods out of Bangladesh. Last year, we started with the footwear. And I think footwear is one section which will grow further and where I see opportunities. Just as fresh as last week, we placed the orders of towels for the very large chain of stores called Metro. And Marco is the one in the Holland. So that's the next segment where I think that Bangladesh has huge potential. I have been traveling to US recently. We met many of the executives of Walmart, but also to other, and our core market is Germany. And what we see is that everybody is looking to what we call as the CO, country of origin diversification. What it means is that people are looking for alternative sourcing coming out of various products, not only apparel. We're talking about bicycles, we're talking about other light products, we're talking about home and hard goods, various segments to be diversified from China. And here I see Bangladesh playing a very, very large role. And I also see some of the entrepreneurs coming with the newer items in Bangladesh. So in my perspective, as long as we can keep on working on the next level of efficiency, next level of growth, I see a very fair chance of Bangladesh becoming, in RMG itself, the #1 player in the world. Today we are at 42 billion, and I think there are a lot more opportunities. And secondly, I also see, but in other segments like footwear, like home and hard goods, huge opportunity for Bangladesh entrepreneurs. And that is where I think Techno, but also we as a PDS group, are going to engage ourselves further and deeper into Bangladesh.
I can fill you in with three things. I was told by some of the Dutch friends that around 70 plus Dutch companies, they don't reveal their names because of GDPR, are already engaged in digital industry, sourcing or doing things in Bangladesh. Digital, meaning what people call IT. Some of these cinema makers in Rotterdam and else, they are in talks. So I often say it's culture to agriculture or also still cinema. That's the horizon. So what you're trying to tease is we need to look at many other sectors across real manufacturing and also services. And perhaps also to look at the third country possibilities. I think that we heard in the initial stages from the earlier inaugural panel. Quickly, questions. Please raise your hands so that we can connect. You can ask them. Questions from the floor? Either you're hungry or you perhaps the glucose level might have gone slightly low. Okay, if not, can I come to Matilde? Because I'd like to come because I think we can explore. There were a couple of things you said in the 2 hours. So if you pick up 2 or 3 things which you think that may excite as an idea, for example, bricks is one, centripad you tease with, but when we look at the decarbonization of manufacturing landscape or circularity, Bangladesh needed for Bangladesh itself to transform Bangladeshi manufacturing landscape, but also as part of the global supply chain, other players also, other actors also need the transformation to happen in Bangladesh for the entire supply chain. So can you tell a couple of things, because particularly on circularity, because circularity, what I note being in Netherlands, I may invite the attention of the Honorable Minister, the demand side, meaning the consumers and brands in Netherlands, Europe, the West are very ready. They're asking for things. Supply side in Bangladesh, vast part of Asia, are not that ready, not organized, data mapping are not there, regulation are not there. How can you come in the step TNO, for example? What kind of interesting collaboration you may think of coming in decarbonization and circularity? Because we are trying to talk about emerging perspectives. Bangladesh will move because of its own. We have the drivers. But in the process, can we connect our drive, speed, motion to the global ecosystem? so that you also connect to RVO and invest purposefully sitting next to you, and also the two entrepreneurs.
Yeah, with respect to circularity, I think there are many local business cases, but also international business cases. There are a lot of opportunities for that, and especially in the agro-food sector. I think the side streams for agricultural produce, you can do a lot of it. So now it is waste, but you can turn it into value. And for instance, you can use pyrolysis to make biochar. Very important for local energy consumption, and it's not that investment intensive. And I think the biochar can be a good product for Bangladesh, and you can use it as well, the residues of that one, as a biofertilizer. Another thing is turning agricultural residues into animal feed by use of the black soldier fly. If you use insects to transfer the residues into in the pupae of the black soldier flies, pigs and fish love it, and I think it's a very attractive business case as well. Also making briquettes from rice husk, or making cooking oil from rice bran, or making chemicals from fruit waste. I think there are multiple examples, especially in Bangladesh and the agro sector that is available there, that you can turn that into value. And one is the technical solution that is there. You always have to adapt it a little bit, but it's also about the business model. And I think TNO is bridging the gap between knowledge at universities, the can-do mentality at the local enterprises, but also with the government and linking them up. So within the eco-innovation system, besides of the technology opportunities, I think also the process of innovation, how to make it a success, is very important.
I think we can close the panel, but with two examples, and I look at this side of the things. We were talking about jackfruit. We throw it away. But jackfruit, the meat, is a fantastic called jack patty. And how do we do it? So that's a collaboration between TNO and Wageningen. So I'm connecting the dots now. We spoke about a lot of things, the other being, for example, maize plant, bhutta.
Yeah.
We throw it away. We get this much of corn, but rest of it. Wageningen is now talking that how it's full of protein. How do we convert the protein to further economic use? All have fascinating business cases. Because quite often, sir, I receive calls from Dhaka, from many of our entrepreneurs. I can see some of them and say, can we do something? I said, this side, Netherlands has all kind of technology holders, either in SME or individuals, and they're ready to sell their technology. How do you create the pathway? So when we hear that agri-food and agriculture hashtag are the next big thing to happen, and that's why we are CBI, RVO, Invest, and TNO, they represent actually the gateway or gateways for the Bangladeshi entrepreneurs to scout technology, scout innovation, and then blend it with design thinking. So on that note, may I end the panel? And thank you very much for each of you for joining. I'm sorry that we are rushing, but some of the perspectives which are coming, I think these are just teasing the ground. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your insights. I hope we'll learn a lot of things from you guys, because you are the excellent people who is sharing their experiences and insights. Distinguished guests, we now move on into an exclusive segment that promises to shed further light on Bangladesh's immense potential. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Sanjay Jain, Group CEO of PDS Limited, who will deliver an insightful presentation titled Partnering with Bangladesh to Build a Promising Future in the RMG Industry. May I kindly invite Mr. Sanjay Jain to take center stage and share his forward-thinking perspectives on partnership opportunities that will catalyze Bangladesh's apparel sector. Please. Join me in giving him a warm round of applause. The stage is yours, Mr. Jain, please.
Thank you. A very good afternoon. I know I'm probably holding you back from your lunch, so I got to make it a little quick. We heard about the promises, the strengths of Bangladesh. Allow me to share a humble story that was founded by Palak Seth as to how one can actually make a very profitable and big business out of it, and at the same time contribute meaningful to the society. How do I change? Yeah, thank you. As PDS is a listed company, allow me to stress on the safe harbor statement over here. Who is PDS? We are a one-stop shop, single window solutions to various needs of the retailer. What I mean to say here is we will manufacture goods for you, we will design goods for you and bring them to your doorstep from about 600 partner factories across the world. We look upon you, we kind of encourage you, we take your time more towards your core activities of interfacing with the retail customer, leave the back end to us. So if you want us to manage your Bangladesh office or Sri Lanka office or India offices, as one of our offerings, sourcing as a service, we will manage that office for you as well. Plus, if you have an excellent footfall, a good loyalty program, a good understanding of the consumer, allow us to support your efforts in launching brands inside your stores. Or if you already have a brand, then while you focus on the front end of the brands, we will manage the entire back end of designing the brand or handling the sourcing for that brand so that it can be brought very meaningfully to your stores. This is who we are as a company in terms of our offerings. And how do we do it? We have about 60 offices in 22 countries. We have about close to 10,000 people working across, close to 7,000 workers. The number is only increasing, and about 3,000 people across all these offices. And we have a strong team of 250 designers working all across, a strong team of 200 compliance professionals. And what is important is every day, on a single day basis, 1 million of garments are manufactured across the world, and PDS enables to bring it to your doorstep. So close to 365 million garment pieces is what PDS is handling annually for you. And as Palak was covering, and also he mentioned that Bangladesh, in terms of exports, largely focuses on EU and UK, and that's where 77% of what we sell and our annual gross merchandise value today, as I'm talking to you, is about $2 billion US. 77% of that is channelized to our retail consumers or customers in UK and Europe, about 17% in US, and balance in the rest of the world. It's very interesting that as a company, as a group, we originate from India, but where we source from is largely Bangladesh. That is somewhere a reflection of the strengths this geography has to offer to manufacture garments and exports. And we pretty much cater to men and women as about 2/3 of the categories, and remaining 15 to 20% as kids. And very interestingly, Harvard did a case study on PDS. If you see at the bottom of this slide, that a company has been made with such geographical spread, and we call ourselves as a federation of entrepreneurs. If there is an entrepreneur, a retail professional, a manufacturing sourcing professional, then PDS would like to bring them on board. It's like a plug and play, offer them a profit share, and therefore together with them take the journey ahead. And we have about 55 such entrepreneurs working across the platform who together are generating about $2 billion of annual revenue. And this is just a glimpse of our global footprint. What you see on the red is actually a front-end location closer to the proximity to the customer, and what you see as the black is a manufacturing or a design hub. You can see the concentration of black is more toward the eastern part of the world, and as we are gradually moving to the western part, it's a consumption piece. So that's how PDS is well organized, trying to channelize the garments from the eastern part of the world to the big consumption markets of UK, Europe, and then US as well. And when we do this, as I was saying, there is a battery of 250 design professionals working across. There is a 600 global partner factory network working across as well. And PDS, when it is bringing garment to you, is also bringing a representation to you that the garment that is coming to you is coming through a fully compliant value chain. We make sure that any factory that PDS works with is taken on board through a rigorous, at least 6 to 12 months of onboarding process, wherein a retail customer actually blesses, yes, this factory is good, and then PDS takes over the responsibility through its fleet of 200 compliance professionals that the factory always remain compliant. That's who we are in terms of taking the responsibility of bringing garments to you. And these are some of our leading customers, the retailers across the world to whom we cater to. And I'm very proud to say that we're not just a supplier, we're increasingly a strategic supplier to our customer, wherein we are engaged with them. And for the want of a better word, we focus on a retailer's pain is actually my gain. Kindly give it to us in terms of any back-end activity that we have, that you have, we will manage it for you, and we'll try to do it in a very, very compliant manner. And as I was saying, this is the fleet of designers that work across, and we have a good presence in the 10 thriving locations where the consumption is happening across the world. And I was touching upon an offering of ours called Sourcing as a Service. You see some leading global retailers out there, brands or the hypermarket or the fashion stores. What we do as Sourcing as a Service is, for Hanes, for example, the entire sourcing from Bangladesh is actually managed by PDS. Any factory who wishes to work with Hanes has to work through our offices in Bangladesh, wherein we will channelize the output to Hanes offices across the world. Likewise for Ralph Lauren, and likewise for many other retailers across the world. PDS spotted this as a new offering because during COVID times and thereafter, there is a need for our retail customer to focus on their core offerings, and that is where we step in. And also, the Honorable Minister, sir, here our endeavor is that there are a lot of small and medium enterprises who otherwise might not be able to come up to meeting the various expectations, whether it is compliance, quality, or just in time, or even the working capital financing. That's where PDS steps in, because we have $500 million of trade limits from leading global banks, wherein we will facilitate for a garment manufacturer to get an access to fabric, to get an access to trims, to make sure the working capital is financed, and then we bring it to the consumption part of the world. That is somewhere a humble contribution to the RMG industry in Bangladesh. And as we do this, while PDS does about $2 billion of annual gross merchandise value, we have about 3 factories, 2 in Bangladesh and 1 in Sri Lanka. And once again, Honorable Sir, originating from India, PDS is choosing to invest into manufacturing and chooses Bangladesh as the #1 location to invest 2 factories in, one in the tops and one in the bottoms. That's where is our humble testimony or acknowledgement of the strengths of the RMG industry of Bangladesh. And thereafter, we invest into Sri Lanka as well. So these are our 3 factories. Our endeavor is that all these 3 factories should always embrace the best, highest standards in terms of quality, in terms of compliances, or any safety norms. And apart from running these factories in a commercially viable manner, and kind of about close to 6,000 workers who are working there, we're also committed to the environment. And I'm very proud to share that in our Progress factory, which is the factory in the Adamsi export zone, Good Fashion Fund funded us for a wash plant. Prior to this investment, the garments that were getting manufactured were stepping out of the export zone, getting it washed through a third-party facility. PDS felt that there is a room to reduce 50% consumption of water. And that is where we took a project to invest into our own washing facility. And we were very, very fortunate that the Good Fashion Fund emanating from this part of the world spotted this as a very, very eco-friendly social initiative. And that's where PDS Progress Factory became the first ever factory funded by Good Fashion Fund in Bangladesh. In fact, that's another strength that as any one of us is aspiring to build a great business out of Bangladesh, not only you have a lot of geographical, demographics, or economic benefits, you have best in the world in terms of funding institution also having a presence there. You have a viable project, there is funding waiting for you to be tapped and kind of do a partnership over there. And our other factory, Green, in the Ghazipur area, is while it's doing about $45 million of turnover every year, close to about 900,000 pieces of garment, but what it is doing is if there is water from the steam, it is plowed back to boiler. If there is water, it is used in harvesting. If there's a wastewater, it is cycled as well. And once again, as part of a continuous endeavor to contribute to the environment around, I'm very pleased to share that it is just about yesterday that there was a solar power 1 megawatt facility at the rooftop in a green factory that was commissioned. Now this is 100% on green power. So one factory of ours in export zone has a good fashion funded project for 50% reduction in the water consumption. And the other factory in Ghazipur actually has solar power to kind of totally replace power from any other source and be 100% compliant and contributing to renewable energy. And these are some very important 4 pillars of the PDS building blocks in terms of ESG. When I talk about the respecting water, that's where the good fashion funded project comes in, 50% reduction in the water consumption. When I talk about building community, we have fair price shops in our factories. We are also sponsoring and funding education for underprivileged children in Bangladesh. That is our contribution to community. And when it comes to Think Circular, ladies and gentlemen, PDS has funded 2 companies, one by the name of Yellow Octopus and the other one by the name of Upcycle Labs. As you know, that even after end of season sale, there are a lot of leftover garments, and typically they would tend to go into soil, and that's a big hazard to the environment. Yellow Octopus, 50% owned by PDS, actually take over those leftover garments and try and bring them to East Africa or East Europe or somewhere in the world where there is still a consumption left over at a price point. So we are preventing that garment from getting into soil by about 6 to 8 months. And our contribution does not even end there. Even after that 6 to 8 months, when it is ready to be crushed and again getting into soil, we invested into a technology in Nottingham in UK, whereby this can actually be crushed with mixing a chemical, and then you can actually have anti-combustible bricks or artifacts made out of that as well. So that is how PDS is very, very responsibly working to the entire value chain to make sure that as there is a $2 billion turnover getting generated at the back end, whatever is getting into it is being done in a fully compliant manner. And finally, when I say reduce emissions, that's where the power, solar power in our Sri Lankan factory, solar power in our Ghazipur factory is actually working towards reducing emissions as well. And normally companies contribute 1%, 2% of their profits to a corporate social responsibility. PDS, Honorable Sir, allocates 20% of its capital employed to such initiatives, whereby if there is a seed, cotton seed, getting into soil, water is getting consumed, is there a technology somewhere by a smart young kid from Harvard or Stanford that we can fund? And that technology, when taken to a commercial activity, can reduce water consumption. So all such similar initiatives across, wherein PDS goes on its own invest, or PDS partners with private equity funds who are focused on such initiatives. And I'm very proud to say, today we have close to $20 million plus from our balance sheet, which actually has gone into such initiatives of having a RMG connotation at the same time, an ESG agenda to reduce impact on the environment. And this is some of the glimpses of the children that we support in terms of education and their well-being in Bangladesh as well as in India as well. And last couple of slides, I think we touched upon, we heard various experienced and illustrious speakers on advantages of Bangladesh. And somewhere when I said that while there is a $45 billion plus annual garment export, the number is only growing. PDS very humbly channelizes 1.2 billion out of it. And Honorable Sir, it has actually doubled over the last 5 years or so. We were about 600 million 4-5 years back, and we are today at about 1.2 billion, and only about 100 million comes from our own factories. The balance 1.1 billion is actually from the factories who aspires to sell to UK, Europe, and US, and probably has somewhat lack of means, and that is where we step in through supporting them through working capital, through compliances, through making availability of workers, garments, and so on. That was I just covered. As I said, I'm the one holding you back from lunch. So I covered the gist of these slides, which were over there. So friends and colleagues, Bangladesh is awesome, second largest garment exporting nation. And Palak Seth had a vision and could actually institutionalize a $2 billion business annually, 60% coming out of Bangladesh. And today this business is very much valued at the stock exchanges as a very profitable business, but very humbly, always focused on the customers and at the environment. And I will just, this is the last slide I wanted to share with you, that we have doubled what we channelize from Bangladesh, 600 to 1.2 billion. And given our strategic intent, it is our humble promise to the Commerce Minister that in another 3-4 years, PDS is very confident should be able to double up this number to about $2 billion of RMG export to various parts of the world. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just been treated to an enlightening presentation by Mr. Sanjay Jain, Group CEO of PDS Limited. Mr. Jain, we sincerely appreciate your time, expertise, and your vision for the future of the apparel industry. Your presentation has been a valuable addition to our event. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward in our event, I am thrilled to share some of the exciting attractions we have arranged here at Amsterdam. Firstly, let your taste buds embark on the delightful journey at our food bazaar. Experience the vibrant flavors of Bangladeshi cuisine, carefully curated to tantalize your senses. For those with an appreciation for the arts, our art exposition is a must visit. Immerse yourself in the cultural tapestry of Bangladesh as you explore a collection of artworks reflecting its heritage. And if you are intrigued by the creative process, be sure to catch our live painting session. So whether you are indulging in delectable cuisine, admiring artistic expressions, or witnessing a painting come to life, those attractions promise to enrich your time at the best of Bangladesh in Europe 2023. Thank you, take your time, have lunch, and your refreshment. Thank you.